bring that up specifically here. My phone goes off for some reason.
Matthew.
That every
brain malfunction.
No, you know it's weird. I got a brand new phone, and like you can see it there. Like my volume is down, but for whatever reason, like what's going on with this? I don't understand.
There's a button on the left side usually on iPhones, Matthew.
No,
Yeah.
Yep.
Hold for silent.
There you go.
Oh, I have to hold it for silent. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I thought I just could push it.
Nah, you gotta hold it.
Kenneth Walker, RB6.
Don't mind me learning technology on TV.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
Happy Friday. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Connor Rogers, a man of technology. Matthew Berry, I like the mime stuff. Welcome.
Yeah, it's like
Jay Croucher.
Well, it's like every bad social media post. Oh, hello there.
Yes.
You know, like I didn't see the camera there. Oh, hello there. But welcome to my kitchen. Let me tell you about this brand new crock pot that I have, or whatever it is.
Like a TV
Yeah,
sale.
it's always that scam of like just sort of like you don't know that you're like in a studio mic'd up and that there's a camera in front of you. You're just like, and they're always reading something. Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Like, and they're not doing it ironically. They're doing it genuinely.
Yeah. I was actually going to predict that you were going to have a better show today than yesterday with PhoneGate, but we're off to a tough start.
Off to a tough start.
The line moved.
I
The live line.
Yeah.
I will tell you, yeah, exactly. Early line bettors are taking a beating. But I just want to take one quick moment, and then we're going to get into football. We got a lot coming up today on the show. Thursday Night Football. Denny Carter going to tell us what the mainstream media doesn't want us to know about, what's on tap for the weekend. We'll get all ready for week number 8. But who drinks free today? I'm going to tell you who drinks free today. I drink free today. That's right. Matthew Berry drinks for free at the Happy Hour bar. And I'm sure you're wondering why. Barry, why do you specifically drink free? And I'll tell you why. Because today, boys, I became the father of teenage daughters.
Go. Okay.
That is Brooke and Samantha. They are 13 years old today. Lord help me.
Happy birthday to the girls.
Twin teenage daughters.
You're still here.
As of today, it's going to be a long 7 years for me.
Oh, yeah.
There's no question about it. So I drink free. I need it as well. As you can see, my daughters are beautiful. Thank God. They take after their mother. They have no genetics from me at all. Thank God for them and their social life going forward. But I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm proud of the beautiful young women they become. They are smart and thoughtful and kind, and they're too good for me. And again, they take after their mother.
Indeed. They do have a hint of Berry in their faces, though, so they are definitely yours, which is a great result.
Yes, and it's an upset, to be honest. Honestly. So anyway, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Brooke and Samantha, my beautiful daughters. Anyway, now we can get into week 6. I'm going to be drunk by the end of today.
And right before we get into week 6, I mean, it's already kicked off with a great Thursday night football game as we saw.
Week 8.
Week 8, yeah. I'm following you now.
Technology,
You're rubbing off on me in a horrible way.
I'm sorry. Tracksuit Friday off to a bad start. Sorry, my friend.
Brutal. All right, so it's week 8, by the way.
Yeah.
Thursday night football, an excellent game with the Vikings and the Rams, and the storyline was the return of both Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp to help this Rams offense. We got to hear from both players after the game on the band being back together.
I call Coop the All-Father. I mean, he's the leader of everybody over here between him and Nine. So it's like the ability to be back under his wing and like to follow their leadership is super fun. We trust in those guys so much, and it gives a confidence to everybody out there when 9 and 10 that you can see the level of communication they have and they're processing everything together, and then the ability to communicate to the rest of us. It breeds confidence.
Yeah, I thought it was really impressive. I mean, Puka's had one practice. He had one practice against people since Detroit. And so for him to be able to come back and do what he did today, coming off of one practice, is good. And obviously you aren't giving him the excuse to think he can just practice one time every week or anything like that. But he did a really good job. It was really cool to see him and Matthew connect how they were.
So what we thought was going to be a limited appearance from Puka Nacua, Matthew, turned into a real solid fantasy night if you had the guts to play him. Targeted 9 times, 7 catches, over 100 receiving yards. Solid day for Cooper Kupp as well, especially since he gets the touchdown. But the Rams' dynamic receiver duo was back in the fold, and maybe their season is back as well.
Fortune favors the bold, so shout out to everyone that started Puka Nacua. I think I tweeted out when the news came out, which came out after we did the show yesterday, but when the news came out before the game, I said, look, I would not bench a locked-in starter for him. But if you're deciding between him and another borderline guy, start Puka, because who has more upside than Puka? But again, I said the Rams don't even know how much he's going to be able to play, so how can any of us? So don't beat yourself up too bad if you had him on your bench. But kudos to you if you did start him. I think the exciting thing is that if you used one of your first 3 picks on Puka Nacua and you've held on to him this long, he's back, baby. I mean, he looked great, and the fact that this was the Thursday night game, they now have the mini bye. They're going to have 10 games to prepare for the upcoming schedule. And we also don't know about Cooper Kupp's status moving forward. Is this his last game as a Ram? We may have seen his last game as a Los Angeles Ram. We'll get to there in a second. But I think that Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp both immediately locked in as top 15 options going forward, both immediately must-starts here.
I just don't. Why would they trade Kupp? Like, what's the point of trading Kupp? You're one game out of the lead in the division. You have an old star quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Like, the time to win is now. It's not like the NFC. Is anyone petrified of the Lions without Aiden Hutchinson, who are probably the best team in the NFC? Like, yeah, they're very good, but I don't think it's insane that the Rams could make the playoffs and go on a run. Like, when they have had those 4 guys, when they've had Stafford, Nacua, Kupp, and Kyren Williams all healthy, they're one of the most efficient offenses in NFL history when those guys are on the field at the same time. And the defense was a little bit better as well last night towards the end. So I think I would imagine that Kupp has to stay on the team. I don't get it.
I don't get it either, but I mean, those rumors are out there, Connor.
Yeah, the Chiefs apparently were dabbling before they got Hopkins.
Yeah, I mean, there's rumors of the Buccaneers and the 49ers, which is hilarious because, by the way, they're ahead of the 49ers. They have a win they have a head-to-head win over the 49ers in this division. Like, I think you can make a strong argument. Jay, I haven't looked at the odds this morning, so I don't know if you have a sense of this yet, but like the Rams, the Seahawks, and Niners are all in play to win that division.
Yeah,
by the way, the Cardinals are 3-4.
Cardinals beat the Chargers.
The Cardinals beat the Chargers.
On DraftKings, every team is shorter than plus 400 to win the division. So everyone is right in the thick of it.
Mix.
And I will say that a lot of the Kupp reporting was before the win last night. Like, there is a big difference between 2-5 and 3-4, and I wonder if that win changes the outlook for the Rams going forward.
It certainly. You think it would, but we'll see. But either way, it just goes to show that because the Vikings come in as a very good defense, and it just goes to show that both guys can eat in this offense. I mean, I think you, especially given the state of the wide receiver position in fantasy these days, with everyone so banged up and beat up, and that you'd have been thrilled with either performance if you started those guys.
Yeah, and I think, to me, Connor, maybe the biggest thing of all is that the Rams were able to block for Matthew Stafford. Like, Stafford had time last night, whereas he'd been running for his life for a lot of the season.
And they have more reinforcements on the way to this offensive line as the season continues. So the Rams are only going to get healthier. That line will get better. Their young pass rushers looked great. Jared Verse could be in line to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Everything looked right for the Rams last night. But despite all of that, of course, a lot of the questions after the game directed at Sean McVay, who called a great game, was about the trade rumors to Cooper Kupp. So listen to how McVay addressed them.
Here's what I'll tell you. Teams reached out. Some of the things that I've seen out there, they're just not true. We've addressed that with those individuals. Teams have called about him, and really we let him know what the dialogue was there. And then there's a lot of stuff out there where there's not a lot of accountability to the reports, and that's unfortunate. I don't think about those things. I think about coaching our team. I think a lot of the things that were out there, speculation was exactly what that was, speculation. We're an inside-out organization. I'm really glad to have Cooper Kupp back with us, and that's what I expect to stay that way.
I'm going to say a couple of things real quickly. That number one is that while that was a really impressive answer, he didn't actually say anything.
Nothing at all.
He just so teams have called. He didn't say what he when teams have called and inquired, they didn't say what their response was. Like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, instead of a 3, if you give us a 2, we're in. He didn't address how they reacted to that, other than just to say to Coop. Apparently they did tell Cooper Kupp, by the way, yes, your names are in trade talks. And by the way, I don't know when it's going to be, but whenever Sean McVay decides to get into broadcasting, he's going to be phenomenal.
One of the great voices.
He's going to be phenomenal.
His tone and cadence is slowly descending into like Grudenisms.
Yes.
That's what I kind of noticed.
He's going to be
sometimes.
phenomenal, though. He's going to be, whenever he decides to get into broadcasting, he's going to be phenomenal.
Yes, and he actually says stuff as well. Like he didn't say stuff there, but usually he does. In the podcast in the offseason with Rob.
I got to know him a little bit at the Combine when he was the tight ends coach of the Washington Professional Football football team.
One of the greatest offensive staffs in the history of the
in
NFL.
the history of
I'm
football.
not kidding.
And so, I mean, that's because I knew that, because that's my team. And so, like, he was. This is many, many years ago. It was late one night at at one of the bars at the Combine where I was just like, "You're Sean McVay. You're the tight ends coach," and he was excited that anyone knew who the hell he was. And I was just like, "Oh, here's why," and he knew me a little bit and was just like, "Oh," and I'm a massive fan of the team, and so we spent like a half hour just talking about the team, and great guy, the best guy. Anyway, so happy for him to win. And the question I want to ask you guys off of this, right? So Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, starters, no-brainers, great moving forward. Matthew Stafford, in his first 6 games of the year, had thrown only 3 touchdown passes, but in his first game with both guys since week 1, he throws 4 touchdown passes, 279 yards, has 24.8 fantasy points per game. So 4 touchdowns in one game compared with 3 in the previous 6 combined. Is Matthew Stafford back to being a legit QB1 if both Nacua and Kupp are in the on the field? I'll just give you a sense of something. Since the start of last season, in games in which both Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are active, he averages 17.4 fantasy points per game. This year, 17.4 would be QB 11 on the season. I posit to you, my friends, is Matthew Stafford back as a QB1, a top 12 quarterback, as long as both guys are out there?
I think he is right on the fringe of that, and you can feel comfortable starting him every week. Like I mentioned, when those guys, and Kyron Williams is a part of this as well, he really helps Stafford overall. And the offensive line getting healthier, the fact that they're going to be in, I think, winnable games every single week, and Stafford just seemed to have a level of comfort. And the other thing, too, is these guys are additive. If you have both of them out there, everything just gets easier as opposed to just having one of them. Stafford was a down ballot MVP candidate towards the end of last season. He was playing at maybe the highest level of his entire career. So I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that he could get back to that the rest of the season.
For me, it's a yes, just because you look at the schedule, right? They have Seattle next. Seattle throws over expectation as much as anyone, so you like the script of that game. You're not afraid of their secondary. Miami, too, is back, so you could be in a shootout mold as well. New England, they're not stopping anybody. Yeah. And then the Eagles, their secondary hasn't been good either. So if you're looking at the next at least 4 games, I think Stafford will finish as a QB1 and potentially all 4 of them.
I would also argue that not one of the defenses you just mentioned is as good as the Vikings.
Right.
Coming into this game.
Again,
it was a short week and they were on the road, Minnesota was, but still, as you sit here and look at the rest of their upcoming schedule, after that Eagles game you mentioned, they're at the Saints. That certainly doesn't look as scary as it did at the beginning of the year. Home to the Bills. Okay, we just saw the Ravens dice them up a few weeks. At the 49ers, that's a Thursday night game. We've already seen them play the 49ers. Okay, at the Jets is tough. The fantasy playoffs are a little dicey, right? The week before the fantasy playoffs, home to the Bills, at the 49ers, at the Jets, home to the Cardinals. That's weeks 14 through 17. So it's a little up and down there. You don't love at the Jets in week 16.
They're a run funnel.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Correct. That's a big Kyron Williams game.
Yeah, I will say, though, that this Rams offense might be so good that it is kind of defense agnostic. Think about what Stafford did when he went into Baltimore towards the end of last season. Yeah. Baltimore had maybe the best defense in all of football. They had no answer because they had all those guys out there, and Stafford just moved the ball at will.
I think we quickly forget how close this Rams team was to beating the Lions in the playoffs last year.
Yeah,
one different pass interference call.
For sure.
They might have won the game.
And then I think they were probably slightly better than the Bucs, and they could have very easily been in an NFC title game against San Francisco. So, no, I think this is a very good team. I think the defense is probably worse than it was last year because no Aaron Donald hurts because he's maybe the greatest defensive player of all time. But the offense could be just as good.
Yep. On the other side of this, Sam Darnold started out really hot, 240 yards. He gets the 2 touchdowns, but in the second half took a lot of bad sacks. Really didn't have a lot of answers for the Rams pass.
Well, they lost Christian Darrisaw, which was a massive loss.
Maybe the best left tackle in football.
Exactly, and so that was by the way, somebody that the Commanders had a chance to draft and didn't. Thanks, guys. In a year in which we were looking for offensive line help. But, Darrisaw's loss, I think, was tough. But, look, without Darrisaw, it was tough. Aaron Jones got the volume and wasn't able to get there. Sam Darnold was under pressure. I think fantasy-wise, though, I think you got to be happy with 18.2 fantasy points here. Still strong as well. 18 to 25, 240 yards. Connor, you were starting him against me in the League of Assholes. I will say the group chat was more abuzz in the first half than it was in the second half. Connor got a little quiet there in the second.
I said my bet cashed, and I was getting points against you, and then no points happened for you in the second half.
It worked out okay. I'm still in our match. We'll see. You also had Justin Jefferson. But I also say, there was I forget exactly what the play was, but there was a play, I think it was the second to last or third to last drive, where Sam Darnold hits Jalen Naylor in the hands.
Yeah.
And if Naylor comes down with that, he potentially goes into the end zone, or at least they've got a first down, and they've got 4 sets of downs, inside the red zone. Instead, Naylor just drops it, and they have to settle for the field goal. And
Maybe
if he gets a third touchdown there, I think the narrative on Darnold changes a little bit there.
He
was fine.
18.2 fantasy points. It's just, you wanted more in a shootout.
Yeah, which is fair. But again, if you have Sam Darnold on your team, you either picked him up off waivers or was a very late pick. So if you're somebody like Connor Rogers, you know what? Screw you. You've gotten way more production out of Sam Darnold than you ever deserved to have. You should be happy. I think on the road on a short week, you're happy with 18.2 fantasy points. I think he remains a QB1, a top 12-ish quarterback, an every week starter, regardless of matchup here. Aaron Jones gets a lot of work, doesn't get in the end zone. He's fine. 10.5 fantasy points here. Justin Jefferson, just so ridiculous. And I just want to go back. I have receipts. I'm not going to bring them up right now, but I have receipts. We talked about this in the preseason.
Did you say he was going to be good?
Yes, I did. Thank you. I made the bold prediction that Justin Jefferson was
ride or die candidate.
That's why you're the best, Barry.
God bless. No, but I will say this. There were people legitimately fading Justin Jefferson because there was concerns about the quarterback. And we talked about this, that there was an argument that he could go 2 overall. That he was touchdown agnostic. The stat that he gave out all throughout the preseason was this is a guy that averaged over 22 fantasy points a game with Nick Mullins. He is Justin freaking Jefferson. Any semi-professional quarterback, especially in the Kevin O'Connell system, is going to be able to get him the ball. And obviously, Sam Darnold's done that and more. That catch down the sideline was unbelievable. It was 27 yards. We needed 29 and a half to catch the longest reception.
In real time, I thought it was home. And then, unfortunately, it was 3 yards short. Before we move on to injuries, one last thing. There's a lot of concern about the Vikings because they've been leading so much in the first 5 games that what's this offense going to look like when they're trailing? Well, this season, when they've been trailing, their offense has actually gotten more efficient. So I don't think there's any issue with Sam Darnold. They've lost these games because of their defense. Their defense has gotten worse. The offense is fine. Darnold will be fine in terms of just supplying Justin Jefferson.
By the way, Sam Darnold only had 18 completions in this game, so the under 21.5 pass completions, my best bet from yesterday, that cashes. Sam Darnold has multiple touchdown passes. Your bet cashes, and we should have cashed the longest reception.
Yeah. So it feels like Justin Jefferson should have gone over.
Yes.
Because he had a magnificent game, but unfortunately he did not cash that specific bet.
We almost completed the Darnold trifecta.
Yes, almost.
The rare Sam Darnold trifecta bet.
But by the way, they wouldn't let me put. I always, whenever we do our bets, I always bet my own, and I always bet. I do a parlay of all of our bets, and they wouldn't let me put longest reception into a parlay.
So you won.
For you, see?
Huh?
So you won.
No, I did, and you know what I did? I went to FantasyLife.com. They have a bunch of free bets for every single game, and Fantasy Life, my guys over there, their favorite bet was Munt under on the receiving yards. I swear to God, 18 and a half.
Pretty high for him.
It was 18 and a half
Yeah,
receiving
it's pretty high
yards.
for him.
We projected him for 5. He ended up with 10, so that cashed as well. So anyway, so the parlay cashed for me. So I was happy about that. Thank you, DraftKings.
Let's take a look at some of the injuries we're tracking heading to the full slate of Week 8. Of course, Jayden Daniels with the ribs injury. It's looking like we're not going to get the Rookie of the Year battle between him and Caleb Williams. That would have been amazing. Alvin Kamara, we talked about the apparently broken hand yesterday. Jordan Mason popped up on the injury report with an ankle. Tyreek Hill with a foot. Jalen Waddle with a quad. DK Metcalf with a knee injury. Let's not forget he was carted off, but it seems like they avoided the worst. Zay Flowers with the ankle, Ladd McConkey with a hip injury, Jacoby Myers with an ankle, and George Kittle, who's been quietly dealing with stuff throughout this season, now pops up on the injury report with a foot.
The two that it doesn't feel like Daniels is going to play. Today will be really telling.
It's his last chance.
It's his last chance, but the line's moved to Bears -3. So certainly the odds makers don't think, or the betting market certainly doesn't think Daniels is playing in a home game against the Bears. Metcalf feels like unlikely to play based on that knee. Feels like that's a couple of week injury. And Jacoby Myers, who missed last week, we haven't seen him practice again. those are the three that really stand out to me that I feel. The rest I feel like they'll be fine. We'll know more today after the practice reports on Friday. But those are the three that I feel like, make other plans.
And just in case anyone's missed it, because it might have gone under, Deebo Samuel's practicing and looked like he's fine. Got out of hospital with the pneumonia, so it looks like he's on track to play.
That's right. So that kid can stop crying. Finally.
Yeah, indeed.
A couple more notes. Ian Rappaport said
you saw that video, right?
Yeah, just for everyone at home who's wondering whether Matthew's calling Deebo a kid who's crying. No, there was a video about
There was a viral video that went out there where some dad videotaped his poor son crying about how all his fantasy team sucks. They're all hurt. Chris Godwin, Deebo Samuel. He mentions how C.J. Stroud sucks. This little kid does. And the dad, being, a supportive dad, is just filming him, and exploiting it for social media.
I would love this trend to end.
It's awful.
It's caught on the last couple of years, and I'm begging America to make it stop.
And then he posted it, and he tagged like everyone in the universe and a bunch of people, and then just like, how about instead of filming your kid, just like comfort him?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And then number two, everybody that's tagged, do not respond. Just let it go into the abyss.
No, I know you don't. I was one of the people he tagged, and I did not respond to it, but a lot of other places did. Social media accounts for larger companies did, and
it's engagement.
It's engagement farming, I guess. I don't know. I'm anti-exploiting children.
Yeah,
even if it's quote unquote cute and whatever. A kid's crying. Like kids truly upset.
Imagine being in high school and then like your friends come up to you and be like, "This was you, loser."
Yeah,
like,
these
things do live forever.
And the reason it really went viral is because Deebo Samuel responded saying, "Hey kid, I'm okay."
Which was nice of Deebo.
Which is very nice of Deebo. 1,000% friend of the show, Deebo Samuel. We love Deebo here, but and we love the kid. I feel bad for the kid, but like it just.
It'll be known forever as the Deebo crying kid.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean,
he applies for jobs and like
no
shot.
Yeah.
You cried.
We can't have you as a
we can't have you crying in a cubicle when your team also goes down. I'm over it. I don't know. I've got video that says you aren't.
Oh boy.
So some funny joke from Matthew.
Yeah, nicely done. Wow. So finishing the week strong. Ian Rappaport also said the MRI confirmed Mike Evans' hamstring will have him out at least 4 weeks, not games. So he could be back after the bye. Bucky Irving did not practice Wednesday, so keep an eye on Bucky Irving with a toe injury. Jonathan Taylor.
By the way, Jay, do you know who has Mike Evans and Bucky Irving in the league? Oh yes, yes. Congratulations.
You're still projected to win, by the way.
Yeah, but
I'm starting like Cedric Tillman. Maybe Xavier
You outbid
Legette.
me for Cedric Tillman.
I know.
I would kill for Cedric Tillman these days. I already lost Rasheed Rice in this league and Mike Evans now, and I'm like. Quentin Johnston, come on down. You're my number one wide receiver somehow.
Grape slappers are in a bit of pain as well. Like every one of my players is like the level of J.K. Dobbins, which is fine and good, but it's like just need some more stuff. I need Christian McCaffrey back off the IR to carry me back into grape slapping glory.
Yeah, and I have no Jayden Daniels this week as well. I'm like, it's ugly.
That's what could change this matchup.
It's Josh Allen and Derrick Henry is what I desperately need to.
Mariota on the waiver wire, perhaps.
I grabbed Mariota, but I don't want to start Marcus Mariota. Do you know why? Because I've seen him play football. He had one good half against the Panthers, but then I've also got years of him not being good.
Bears defense is a different story.
Him or Mason Rudolph? Who are you going to go with?
I'm going to go with Mariota, probably.
All right.
Reluctantly.
Yes, relucantantly Mariota.
Reluctantly
it's
Mariota.
a good fantasy
But that's where I'm at against Connor, is I have to choose between Mason Rudolph or Marcus Mariota in our 12-team deep Superflex league here on the show. All right, good times.
Some good news. Jonathan Taylor was listed as a full participant in Thursday's practice with that ankle. Chris Olave looking like he's going to be out of concussion protocol because he was upgraded to full for Thursday's practice, which gives the Saints offense some hope.
It does, but they're on the road at the Chargers, and Spencer Rattler is still starting. If in an ideal world, you're not starting Chris Olave this week. I'd want to see something like it's a tough matchup, and Spencer Rattler has just not looked ready for prime time to me.
Not at all.
I mean, they're off the mini bye, right? So at least in theory, they've had 10 days to prepare. So maybe they've gotten Rattler up to speed a little bit more. But Olave, who's been up and down this entire year. Anyway, I mean, he's a risky wide receiver 3 for me this week. On the Buccaneers side of the ball, just going back to that real quickly, stop me bitching about feels like this is a Rashad White and Cade Otton game. Somebody will mix up, but Liam Cohen was quoted as talking about that it's not going to be just one guy. It's not going to be one guy in the slot. From the slot so far this season, Trey Palmer's run non-Chris Godwin routes from the slot for the Buccaneers this year. Trey Palmer, 33%, Cade Otton, 31%, Sterling Shepard, 28%, Jalen McMillan, 24%. So, I do think Trey Palmer's kind of like potentially a sneaky pickup. If you're interested, last year Palmer ran 56% of his routes from the slot. He finished second on the team in slot targets. So he has the most experience of any non-Godwin wide receiver on the Buccaneers in terms of slot play in this offense. Although, I mean, Cohen's different from Canales, but it's more or less the same offense. But I feel like it's going to be wide receiver by committee, and I think we're going to need to see it before you feel good about, especially in a week with no buys, where you feel good about trusting any one of these Buccaneers wide receivers. I feel like talent-wise, McMillan's the best.
Yes, I would definitely go with that, but just the usage, we just don't know anything.
And Sterling Shepard's the veteran, as you say, like Todd Bowles loves his veterans.
Right. Honestly, I think they're just going to play everyone, and I think Baker, besides K. Dotton, is going to spread the ball around.
K. Dotton's the only guy who can start with confidence.
Yeah. And that's
crazy,
because he's a tight end. That's because he's a tight end.
Yeah, the bar is so low.
Right.
So, as a Baker rosterer, I am quite terrified of this situation.
They'll be all right. They'll figure it out. But I do feel like they'll try to, and especially if Bucky Irving looks like it's trending towards him not playing, feels like then because both Sean Tucker and Rachaad White are good pass catchers out of the backfield. Feels like both guys will get a decent amount of usage in this game.
It is many things on Friday, but the most important thing is our friend Denny Carter joins us. So it's Denny time. Let's listen in.
And in honor of Halloween, Denny, we thought we would run down the 3 scariest potential Super Bowl matchups. And all 3 of these kind of shake us to our core.
Right.
But Denny, what's the first one?
It's terrifying on a visceral level, I'd say. And if kids are watching this, I'm sorry. Trigger warning. I would say that Kyle Shanahan versus anyone would be the single scariest Super Bowl matchup. There is no coach that goes into a game thinking that they cannot win like Kyle Shanahan goes into a Super Bowl. As a fan, you're watching it and you're saying, why doesn't this guy believe? He clearly doesn't believe. Kyle, you're scaring the kids.
What the mainstream media doesn't want you to know, we welcome in Denny Carter. Happy Friday to you, Denny.
Yeah, same to you. And we ran down a bunch of scary Super Bowl outcomes. If you guys want to check out Galaxy Brains on Roto World.
We will check out Galaxy Brains on Roto World. But for people listening at home that didn't see the clip that we just ran of you and RotoPat, I have a question for you, Denny. Could we as a show maybe start a GoFundMe to get RotoPat some wireless headphones? Because he's got the long white cord headphones. He's got the 15 years ago headphones. Like, we have wireless technology. We have Bluetooth technology now available. Like, and if he's gonna wear headphones that are connected, like, can we get him some Bose or some Beats or something like that? Something good, not the headphones they hand out on airplanes. Because that's what he's working with.
Look, Matthew, he's an old school millennial, and I respect him for that. He's not like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers wears those things because he doesn't want the wireless thing to mess with his brain. Okay, he's on the record saying that. That's not Pat. Pat just likes them for old school reasons.
Good Lord. All right. Well, listen, Denny. You scour through the dark web. You're in the chat rooms. You are one of the few people in America that hold the mainstream media to account. There's so many things that the mainstream media tries to keep from fantasy managers everywhere, but you're here to help shine a light on some of these stories that people are that the media is trying to keep from the people. Help us out.
Exactly, and honestly, Week 7 was worse than ever as far as the mainstream press goes, because we had DeMario Douglas, otherwise known as Pop Douglas to some, who I talked about on last week's show as, the clear wide receiver 1 for the Patriots with Drake May, now passing a little more, this Patriots offense being a little more fun for fantasy, a lot more fun for fantasy. And then we hear nothing, honestly, from the media about Pop Douglas being terribly ill before and during and after the Patriots game against the Jaguars last Sunday in London. He was not well. He only ran 10 routes on the day, but here's what they won't tell you. He was targeted 3 times on 10 routes. Okay, so he remains a big part of this offense going forward. I'm not giving up on Pop Douglas, and neither should you.
Denny, obviously also his last matchup with the Jets when these teams played in Week 3, he had a 37.5% target share. And the spread in this game, despite the Jets' struggles, is still 7 points that the Patriots are underdogs by. Should the script of this game also favor Pop Douglas?
For sure, yeah. I mean, the Patriots are going to be chasing points all season, including in this game, and I think that will generate a lot of dropbacks for Drake May. And here's the thing about Drake May, and actually the media will tell you this, he's better than Jacoby Brissett. And we like that. We appreciate that. It's going to be good for Douglas. Don't pull the plug on the Douglas experiment because he got sick last week against the Jags.
Okay, Denny, I feel like you were destined and created in a lab to talk about Jake Bobo, the man with arguably the best or worst name in football, depending on your leanings. With DK Metcalf potentially missing or potentially being limited, do you think Bobo can step up against the Bills?
Yes, absolutely. Look, the question is not will he step up, it's how much will he step up, okay? Because you have Tyler Lockett, who will be the wide receiver 1. I'm not pushing back against that if Metcalf is out. But JSN, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, give me a break with this guy, okay? Like one of the least efficient receivers in the league over the past 2 years. He does nothing with his opportunities. Jake Bobo will get more downfield looks. Unfortunately for the JSN truthers in the media, at the New York Times, at the Washington Post, we are going to see Jake Bobo emerge as the wide receiver too, and there's nothing anyone can do about it.
I will say, to your point, the Seahawks have 3 wide receivers on the field, 79% of their plays. That's 4th highest in the NFL. They like to go 3 wide under Ryan Grubb. They throw a ton as well. Metcalf was averaging almost 10 targets a game. So if he's out, there's a 23% target share that is up for grabs. And the mainstream media is not going to talk about the fact that Jake Bobo is going to come down with some of those grabs. Yeah, 1,000%. All right, so we've talked about Pop Douglas. We've talked about Jake Bobo. Anything else that the mainstream media is covering up this week, Denny, as you shine a light on their failings?
Yeah, we have a guy in Jameis Winston who is going to give us the full Jameis Winston experience, however good or bad, this week against the Ravens with Deshaun Watson done for the season. Am I saying that it's going to be super fun to start Winston in fantasy and watch him throw 3 picks against the Ravens? No. But I also am saying that it could be 3 touchdowns as well to go along with those 3 interceptions. The Ravens are what we call a pass funnel defense, meaning teams facing Baltimore lean hard on the pass. The Browns do that anyway. The Ravens are allowing a 67% completion rate. That's the 9th highest mark in the league. And they're allowing the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks. This is something we're not hearing. I don't hear this anywhere. Why is no one talking about this? And so I think, Jameis Winston makes for a fun-ish play, maybe in super flex leagues. I'm starting him in 1 league. Please pray for me.
You can catch more. Oh, Matthew, you have something?
No, I'm just.
Yes.
This is me. I'm praying for you, Denny. This is me.
Thank you.
This is what it looks like.
Denny, I'm praying you're right as a Cedric Tillman truther on this desk. Let's hope that Jameis Winston can spark this pass game.
I am too. I'm a Cedric Tillman truther. We both are. Even though Connor's going to start Tillman against me, I hope he goes off because I've got him in other leagues as well. I'm hoping I can defeat you despite an epic performance from Cedric Tillman. But I'm with you on Pop Douglas, Jake Bobo, and DeMario, and Jameis Winston. What do we need to promote something at Denny's, right?
Yeah, I'll get there.
Okay, good.
Don't worry, I'm
All
not
right,
going to let Denny go
Sorry,
without the promo.
I was busy praying for you, and then Connor's going to promote you.
It caught me off guard. I'm not going to lie. You can catch more of Denny live every Friday at noon for his weekly Q&A on the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. A huge thanks to Denny for joining us every Friday. We're taking our first break. When we're back, we preview some of the biggest games coming up this weekend. What's on tap is next.
I was reading some of the YouTube comments last night.
Dangerous place to be.
Dangerous place to be. Honestly, our YouTube audience is actually pretty great.
They're a lot of fun.
They're a lot of fun. They go back and forth with each other. Person said, Barry with the paper shuffling and the pencil tapping and the cups, everything is the most annoying thing in the world. It just drives me absolutely crazy. So for you, this is for you, buddy. This is for you.
Pretty great idea, Matthew.
Yeah, oven mitts.
You should wear oven mitts.
Jackson Flail 8323 says, great show, fellas. I think you should do one where Matthew has to wear oven mitts to avoid the tapping and shuffling. I will do that.
I would say you would gladly do this.
I will 100% do that. Yeah. Someone get me some oven mitts
or
and
mittens?
make them like
mittens. So you wear in the snow.
So the man suggested oven mitts. I'll do oven mitts. Let's get oven mitts, but let's make them you know what I mean? Let's do a dual purpose here. Maybe should be like Minions oven mitts or something like a company man. I bet you Applebee's would throw us a couple of oven mitts, you know,
probably makes the most sense.
or Bud Light, you
Makes
know.
more sense than Minions.
Yeah.
I think the plays is that you wear the oven mitts and then we just never draw attention to them. The whole
Just
show.
I-
And
just-
it's
I'm just-
there.
we
And it
don't
just
address it at
exists.
all?
Yeah, we never address it.
I'm just wearing
It's
oven
there.
mitts?
It's just the oven mitts show.
Sure.
I'm not convinced they would stop you, though, from any of the noises you make.
No, I'll make different noises with oven mitts.
Yeah, you
I
can
will
still
explore.
grab things with oven mitts.
I'm a fiddler. I'm a, whatever. I'm a fidgety guy.
Yeah, fidgety is
fidgety
definitely-
Yeah, fidgety's the word.
Fiddler's more. Yeah, exactly.
Good to clarify that.
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
I'm a
I have no
fiddler.
music- look at me. I'm on the roof. All right, there you
That'd
go.
be something if you were this whole time.
Thanks. All right.
By the way, we bought a fantasy football team.
Yes,
If
we
you haven't
did.
heard.
Yes, you and I. So I don't know if you guys saw this.
and I.
Saw this on the internets. But like, I think is this part of the clip, Stephen? That we're gonna explain it. Okay, I don't have to explain it. Like, just I bought it for the League of Assholes. I bought a fantasy football team. Take a listen. I've seen almost everything there is to see in the world of fantasy football. Until this last week, where something came across my timeline on social media where it was like, okay, I have never seen that before. Take a look at this. So at Lobo's FF Den, Lobo tweeted this out. Quote, don't let anyone tell you Facebook Marketplace isn't a one-stop shop. And somebody out there said, I want to sell my fantasy football team. Fantasy football team for sale. For sale, I should say. Fantasy football team for sale. And I thought, that's hilarious right there. And so I went ahead, and you know what I did? I bought the team. I bought myself a fantasy football team. I thought that was awesome. And the guy who sold me the team is Matt Landau. So thanks to Lobo's FF Den for making this public. But Matt Landau is the guy that put it on Facebook Marketplace, and he joins me now on the happy hour. Matt, thank you so much for joining me. Quick question here. Just who are you? Where are you from? What do you do for a living? Let's get to know you just a little bit real quickly before we get into you selling your fantasy football team.
Absolutely. Well, first off, thank you for having me on my show, and thank you even more for buying my fantasy football team. Again, I'm Matt Landau. I live in Tucson, Arizona. I'm a realtor at Long Realty. This was my ultimate dream, selling my fantasy football team and getting out of this league.
Why? Why are you desperate to get out of this league?
So it's a league of chaos. And I got to admit, about 90% of the chaos started here with me.
Wait, so you basically you lit a match and then you're bailing? Okay, talk to me why did it start with you?
So I like to keep things spicy. I like to keep the league fun and entertaining. We've got a group chat with hundreds of messages a day. I'll spare you and I won't invite you into that group chat, or you'll sell your team back to me. It's this season started, we switched over to the Sleeper platform. About 1 week into it, half the league revolted. They wanted to go back to Yahoo. So they forced our commissioner to manually redraft the entire league back into Yahoo. And he retroactively went back and changed all of the transactions as well. Huge pain in the ass. He was able to finally do it. I threw a little chaos fit about it and dropped all of my players. So I dropped all the players. Dude. And the commissioner, who's my best friend, usually he understands it. He'll add the players back on, but he locked my team from transactions. No adding, no dropping. And he forgot to switch it, so I missed the first 2 weeks of waivers.
Right.
So that was just the start.
I got to be honest with you, Matt. I'm sort of on your commissioner's side. Like rage dropping all your players feels a bit extreme. You can understand that.
There's some historical context to it too.
Fair enough.
It's gone on in the league for years, and I would take his side there too.
I said, hey, it's your team. You're the sale. I'm going to send you the money, and then whatever you want to do with that money is up to you. So I sent you the money. What did you do with that $99?
The money was immediately donated to Fantasy Cares.
Well
and
done.
I appreciate it. I thought that was a great idea. And when you win the league this year, I hope you take that money and throw it back to Fantasy Cares as well.
100%. That is 100% happening. It's a great organization. Scott and his team do great work. And I encourage everyone to go check out fantasycares.org.
So, this week's matchup, of course, this is the team of assholes. Since we all technically have a hand in running this team, I think we got a shot in this league, Matthew. I'm going to be honest with you.
I think so.
We're 1-0 since we've acquired the team?
We're 1-0 since we acquired the team. I've basically assigned producer Steven to help run it. But you and I asked him what you didn't hear in the interviews. I asked him what he would like us to do. Like, does he want us to make a bunch of bad trades? Is chaos? And he's like, no, I want you to win this league.
Right.
I want you to.
That would be the funniest.
That's the funniest thing in the world. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to win this league. We're going to throw out some trade offers as well. But we've got some. We got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Waddle coming back, Purdy. We've got some pieces. Amari Cooper, his outlook has improved as well. Now we're going against a guy with Lamar and Justin Jefferson, and it's whatever. But we got our work cut out for us, and by we I really mean producer Steven. No, I'm gonna get in there as well.
We did. This is news to Steven, as he's telling me. It's nice that we bought the team, I think, 2 days before Amari Cooper was traded to the Bills. So that was kind of a nice
it was.
Yeah.
It was as well. And what I'm trying to figure out, he told me they have a WhatsApp group chat, and I'm trying to figure out again. We saw at the beginning of the show how technology inept I am. So I've downloaded. What I can't figure out is I'm like, I'll join the WhatsApp group chat, and I'll throw a couple of bombs in there, and and leave. I said, but I don't want you guys to have my phone number. Like, can you, if you join a group chat in WhatsApp, do they also see your phone number?
Yeah, they do.
They do?
Yeah,
and then it's out. I'm sorry, Matt. I don't, it's a bunch of randoms.
Producer Steven, you got another job on your hands.
Sorry. Maybe I'll find a different phone number. I'll just, what I'm going to do? I'm going to use Jay's phone number.
My number is for sale.
Yeah.
My number's worthless.
Yeah,
it's been beaten into the ground.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. So anyway, but I just thought that hilarious. Like some guy, this is a league that's been going on for over 15 years. It's all his boys from school and his best friends in the world. And so, yeah. But I'm kind of with the league here. Like, you can't drop all your players.
No, it's ridiculous.
It's outrageous.
It's rage.
Rage drop.
Yes, rage dropping players.
It's like Heath Ledger and Dark Knight type of stuff, just watching the world burn.
Yeah.
I don't see that. Keep the world.
So we'll keep up with the team of assholes, hopefully a team of destiny.
Yes.
For now, we move on to What's on Tap, which is brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here's the matchups with the highest point totals going into Week 8, not Week 6, Matthew, Week 8. Sundays are easy to enjoy when they are full of football and the fridge is filled with beer. These are the games we're locking in on, starting with the Eagles traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. The Bengals are 3-point favorites in this game, but more importantly, the over-under is 48 in this one, Matthew. Do you play Chase Brown in this game?
Look, obviously, I think it depends on what your options are. You see it right there on your screen. With the Thursday night players removed, he comes in at running back 28 on my ranks. It's not a great matchup with Philadelphia. Eagles allow the 6th fewest fantasy points to opposing running backs this season. But if you're looking for some positives around Chase Brown, over the past 4 weeks, he's averaging over 15 touches per game. He's had at least 12 in every single game. And he got 60% of the team's rushes last week, which is a season high. It's his third straight game with at least 50% of the Bengals team running back rushes. And so Zach Moss, who's now had back-to-back games with under 10 touches, this feels like Chase Brown is slowly overtaking this backfield. And so even in a bad matchup, given the expected shootout nature of this game, feels like Chase Brown, who's getting more involved in the passing game as well, feels like he's a viable flex this week.
Yeah, I agree. Sneaky thing about this game, and perhaps not everyone's been paying attention to this, but T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, there's not much difference between those two guys at the moment. Their DraftKings receiving prop is 4 yards apart.
Yes.
Chase is 75.5, T. Higgins 71.5. T. Higgins has been getting more first read targets. He's been just gobbling up targets in general. So T. Higgins is a guy I still think you can trade for because I think he's going to be a monster the rest of the way.
I remember on Fantasy Football pregame, one of our bar trivia questions was who has more receptions this game, T. Higgins or Jamar Chase? And I took Higgins thinking, Chase will have more yards, but Higgins will be more of the possession guy. And that actually ended up last week being the opposite. Chase got more receptions. Yeah. Higgins had more yards. So I'm with you. They're really a 1A, 1B.
Yep.
It's nice here for Higgins in the contract year.
Our next game, the Bills have the long trip to Seattle. They're still 3-point favorites against the Seahawks, but the over-under in this one is 46.5. Jay, is Amari Cooper now a top 20 play this week, as we think his snap count should go up compared to his debut at Buffalo?
Yeah, I think so. I think Amari Cooper, as you mentioned, the snap count against the Titans, that made sense. They didn't really need him in that game. Now, his receiving prop on DraftKings is only 53.5, but again, that is just calculated guesswork. I don't think anyone can say with certainty with Amari Cooper. I would say he's very high variance. Like if you need to shoot, if you went up against guys like Kyron Williams last night, Justin Jefferson, then Amari Cooper has a lot of upside, but also it could be a quiet game. We don't really know. Also monitoring the fitness of Tariq Woolen there.
It's fair. I'm at wide receiver 17. Over the last 4 weeks, Seahawks allow the 6th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. He only ran 12 routes last week, but he got a target on 5 of them.
Yeah.
And so now with an extra week in the system, getting more experience with Josh Allen, I do think he's a top 20 play. Tyler Lockett comes in there at wide receiver 24. He's had 4 straight games with an end zone target, like they're looking for him. No DK Metcalf here. In his 5 games where he's gotten at least 6 targets, Jay, including the game that you beat me with Tyler Lockett, he's averaging almost 12 fantasy points per game. And don't listen to Denny Carter's smearing of JSN. I like Jake Bobo as a deep sleeper, but I will say that I have JSN at wide receiver 21. I do think in a game where we expect a lot of scoring, JSN's a viable wide receiver 2 this week.
And Tyler Lockett makes the top 25 wide receivers, wide receiver 24 for
Correct.
you. So both him and JSN get a bump with Metcalf out. Our last game, Dallas is at San Francisco. The Niners are 4.5-point favorites in this game on Sunday Night Football. The over-under is 47. Matthew, let's crank up the difficulty on these questions here. Better desperation play, Jalen Tolbert or Ricky Pearsall?
Well, right now I would say Tolbert, because right now we don't know if Juwan Jennings and Deebo Samuel are going to play. Right now, these rankings with Deebo at 9 and Juwan Jennings at wide receiver 27 obviously assume both of them play. So if both of them play, it's hard to see an every down role for Ricky Pearsall, whereas Jalen Tolbert is really the only other wide receiver that gets significant run other than CeeDee Lamb, my guy 8. Having said that, if we know, so as we sit here today, I'll say Jalen Tolbert. But if Deebo Samuel and or Juwan Jennings can't go, and it looks like Deebo's at least going to play, but we don't know about Jennings as of this taping. If Jennings is out, then I think Ricky Pearsall. I mean, I will say Ricky Pearsall actually led the Niners in routes run last week. He had an 84% route participation, and over the last 4 weeks, the Cowboys allow the 3rd most yards per game to opposing wide receivers. I also feel better about Brock Purdy at home against the Cowboys than Dak Prescott on the road at San Francisco.
That's the key. I think that's the thing that flips it to Pearsall is that, like, think about what these guys did last year in this matchup. Like, Dak has really struggled for whatever reason against the Niners. Brock Purdy had maybe the best game of his entire career against this Dallas defense. Also, Micah Parsons hasn't been practicing, doesn't look like he's going to play. So this Dallas defense, I just don't see how it's going to be super improved over the unit that last time we saw them, they were getting lit up for 47 points at home against the Lions.
That'll do it for What's on Tap, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. 2 storied franchises renew their rivalry on Sunday night. Find out if Dak Prescott and the Cowboys can get back on track after their bye week when they face off against Brock Purdy and the 49ers. Coverage of the matchup starts at 7 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock.
When you said 2 storied franchise facing off, I thought you meant you and I in the League of
That's
Assholes.
what people are saying.
Yeah, that's
it's
what
the
some
matchup of the week.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their eyes on it. We're taking our last break. When we're back, it's last call. Jay and I got our pickup lines for Matthew. DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app and use promo code Barry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook. The crowd
It is so yours!
Jesus Christ.
It's time for last call. Pickup lines!
That must be
because it's
corrected.
Friday. That's when Jay and I bring
Should I
out
be
our
more enthusiastic
best
about it?
bets for Matthew. We're both 3-2 on the year.
Yeah. That's good.
Which is
You guys are
above
doing
500, which is good.
60%.
Jay, what do you got this week?
So what I have for you, Matthew, is Anthony Richardson.
Oh, boy.
All right, looks like we're out of here.
Nothing to do with his ability to throw the football,
Oh,
but
okay,
his
that's
ability
smart.
to use his legs and get rushing yards. Over 39.5 rushing yards. So the key here is, firstly, when they played the Texans back in week 1, he went 6 for 56. We've seen quarterbacks playing the Texans have success running the ball. Josh Allen, he went over 50 rushing yards. Drake May, he went for 38 rushing yards. And I think the key here is that the Texans, they play a ton of man coverage. And I think that what that results in is that there will be rushing lanes for Richardson. Also, I think if you think about what's going on with this offense and how much they've struggled, like, I don't think you can really lean more into Anthony Richardson throwing the ball. I think they're going to run the ball more and more because that is where he provides his most value. So give me Anthony Richardson over 39.5 rushing yards.
This is a bold play, the Anthony Richardson
The
sell,
other thing,
but
too,
I like
is that He went 6 for 56 in week 1. They never had the ball. They never had the ball in that game because Joe Mixon was running for 150
Right,
plus
but
yards.
what's he done since, like when he's come back in terms of the rushing?
Well,
is that the only time he's gone over that number this year?
To me, the whole thing here is Houston's defensive scheme and the
that's a good
fact
point.
that they do play so much man coverage.
That's a really good point. I'm going with a friend of the show, Detective Drake London.
Okay.
His receiving props only 66.5 receiving yards. Drake London's been really good this year, but more importantly, in his last 5 games, 9, 12, 13, 10, 8 targets. That's double-digit targets on average per week in the last 5 for Drake London. If he can't get over 66.5 receiving yards on 8 to 13 targets
against the Buccaneers,
against the Buccaneers defense, which is in the top 10 of allowing the most fantasy points per game to wide receivers, I love Drake London this week.
Yeah, I'm not even going to pretend like I'm considering both. Like I'm going home with Connor. He looks good in the tracksuit. Like it is what it is. I hear, as always, keep the phone on. You never know when Connor and I are done hanging out. You know, I may like on my way home be like, hey, you up? But yeah, I'm going home. The pickup line worked. I'm going home with Connor. Give me Detective Drake London, friend of the show.
This is the Bird Up week.
Bird Up. This is the Bird Up game. They didn't win last week, but I feel like they might win this week. And then, you know, at the podium afterwards, we're getting the Bird Up. He made a promise.
Or the Selly after a touchdown.
Or a Selly. He scored last week and he didn't do it, but, you know, it's whatever.
He's saving it for the presser.
So, anyway.
That's fine. I'll kick back on the couch with Anthony Richardson. 14 carries last week for Anthony Richardson, by the way. He's trending up.
I don't think it's a bad bet.
It's not a bad bet. They do get Jonathan Taylor back. We'll see if they lean on that. All right. Couple of last-minute updates into the happy hour desk, as it were. You see there from NFL Network and Ian Rappaport, Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels not present at practice during the period of viewing open to reporters, which is not a good sign for his availability this week. That is correct. I think the Commanders and Marcus Mariota will be taking on the Bears and Connor's team Fantasy Life commenter.
Yes, Tua has cleared concussion protocol. He will start on Sunday. Mike McDaniel in his presser seemed very optimistic that both Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle will play against the Cardinals. So everything,
despite popping up in the injury report.
Yeah, they both are on the injury report. It's minor. They're going to play. The Dolphins' offense will be back.
If you got him, start him. Tua, Jayden, and obviously Tyreek Hill.
As we close out every Friday, it is a tracksuit Friday.
Yeah. And also, by the way, David Newton, very quickly, Panthers wide receiver Deontay Johnson, he did not practice, but the expectation here is that he is going to play. I don't want any part of him on the road at Denver, though.
Shout out to Stupid Dev.
Yeah.
Bringing it in the tracksuit.
This is Stupid Dev representing for Tracksuit Friday as well. First place in our league, Stupid
Zero
Dev.
wide receiver, Stupid Dev.
Stupid Dev
they mocked him.
We all, at the draft, he went pure running back heavy. He went 0 wide receiver. Everyone else is doing 0 RB.
He's killing it in the league.
He's killing it. Stupid Dev is Smart Dev, laughing at us Dev, wearing a tracksuit Dev. Hey, it's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. For Connor, Denny Carter, and Jay, I'm Matthew. Happy birthday, Brooke and Samantha. We'll see you Sunday morning. Peace out. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.